Terraform is a infrastructure as a code tool. Okay? Terraform is a infrastructure as a code tool. What does it mean? It is same as Ansible, but Ansible is primarily used for the on-premises environment. So if you are having your own data center and there you are having your own machines and you want to manage the infrastructure, then your first preference is Ansible. Ansible, Puppet, Chef. It depends that you are using a pull-based or push-based model for the configuration management. Now, consider that you want to set up your infrastructure on cloud. So we are having a cloud environment here, right, which is AWS or Azure, Google Cloud, right? So you are having a cloud environment. And now you want, instead of your data center, you want to create the resources on AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. Then there are few options. One option is that their native tools. AWS has a native tool which is infrastructure as a code, and its name is CloudFormation. Azure is having ARM templates, right? So like that, other cloud-based environment, they are having their native infrastructure as a code tool or services. But if you want to set up something on AWS or Azure or Google Cloud or Oracle Cloud or other environments which are cloud-based, then you need to learn each infrastructure as a code tool. Means if you are using CloudFormation, if you are using AWS, then you need to learn CloudFormation. If you are using Azure, then ARM template. So now there is a company which is HashiCorp, HashiCorp. What HashiCorp is saying, you need not to learn all these native tools. Instead of that, learn Terraform. So Terraform is an open source and it is an infrastructure as a code tool. Mainly it is used for cloud-based environment, but it is not limited to that. You can use Terraform with Kubernetes, and there are so many other providers with which we can use the Terraform. So it's a open source, so there is a community for Terraform, and there are community developers are also there. Those who are developing different or they are using Terraform for the different providers. So Terraform is mainly used for cloud-based environment, first of all, right? And secondly, you can use Terraform with AWS, Terraform with Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, maybe Alibaba, and so on. So those, from where you get that list, you can go to the Terraform provider list, right? So if I go and browse the providers, so here you can see, if I remove the community or partners, then you can see it by default, it has provider AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Kubernetes, and so on. So here you can see it is supporting around 34 providers. But if I include the partners or community editions, then you can see it is having around 6,348 provider supports, right? So mean to say, Terraform is widely used as an infrastructure as a code tool. Mainly it is for cloud-based environment, but you can use it for the other providers also, like Alibaba Cloud, Oracle Cloud, right? Boundary, Cloud Init, Google Beta, and Helm, etc. So now what we will do in this training, we will see how we can connect to AWS through our Terraform. So let me just go to Amazon aws.amazon.com. Right. So here, what I will do, I will sign in. Just, just 1 second. Right. So this is my AWS account. Now what I will do, first I will create the IAM user. Okay. So IAM user is basically if you want to programmatically access your AWS account, then we create the IAM user, its security key, and the access key. Now, to do that, what I will do, I will go to the users and I will create the user. So I already have that user created, but if you want to create, you can just click on create user. And once you create the user, and then you can put it into a group. And under that group, I had given these permission like administrator access, EKS policy, EKS service policies. Those permissions I had given to this particular user. And if you go to the if you go to this user and mm, this user, right, and there will be a security settings. Yeah, security credential. And here you can create the access key and secret key, and that should be confidential. You should not share with others. Now, next, what you need to do, you need to install AWS CLI, okay, on the Windows. So this is AWS CLI. You can go to this. You can install it on Linux. You can install it on Windows, Mac, okay, any operating system. Once it is installed on your system, then you can go to the command prompt and you can run the command AWS configure, right? So this command will configure your access key and secret key on your local system. So you need to enter your access key. You need to enter your secret key, your region name. I'm using US East 1, which is North Virginia region, and output format I will put as none, right? Now, once this is configured, then you can run a command AWS because AWS CLI is already installed. And if I say AWS S3LS, means I'm running some AWS CLI command, and you can see I'm able to connect to that my account, and I can see these details, right? So these are the commands. So step number one, because we are using AWS Terraform with AWS. So first we need to have the user and user have the programmatic access. So to program it, to get the programmatic access, what we need to do, we need to create the access key and the secret key. And then we need to configure with the AWS configure command. So it creates a profile and my account uh, is, is set up on my local system. From local system now I can connect to my AWS account. So I can verify by running some AWS commands. So here I have executed one command, AWS S3 ls, so it will list all S3 buckets. Okay, so this is fine. Now next thing is that this is my system, right? On this system, step number one, which I have already done, install AWS CLI and configure user access key or the secret key. That is done. Now next step is that we need to download Terraform. Terraform is not in the executable form, so you just download the executable file and set up the environment variable. So what I will do here, I will go here and I will say download Terraform for Windows. Right. So you can go to this HashiCorp, anywhere you can go install Terraform. And if I go for Windows, if you have different operating system, according to that you can select your version. So I'm selecting Windows. So this is Linux, Windows. So what you can do, you can download this version. I have already downloaded and I kept it under my C softwares and Terraform, this directory. So there is a executable file. That file I have downloaded here and put it into this directory. Then I will go to the system variable or environment variable. Under that, you will see there is a path option. So in the path option, I have mentioned C software Terraform. You can click on new and add that path where your executable file is available. Okay. So same way, down here on the system level variable, I have set up this path variable. So here I have mentioned that C software Terraform. Once everything is done, then what you can do, you can come to your command prompt and you can run Terraform and hyphen version. So it will tell you which version of Terraform is installed. So currently it is V1 10.5, but current version is 1.14.8. Okay. So because I did not download the latest version, but you can download the latest version, whatever the practical we are going to do with the Terraform. So those things we can do with this version. So there is not much different. It's not a major change. It's a minor change. Okay. So I will go with the same version, but I would suggest when you work on this Terraform, download the latest version. Right. Now, next thing is that we will create one directory. So I will create some directory called anything, any directory I can create, or I'll create a directory, name it as Terraform scripts, something. So under this directory, I will create my Terraform code. Okay. So I will create I'll create a folder called 01. Okay. So I will open this folder into my Visual Studio Code. Okay. So okay, that option is not showing here. So no worries, I will open Visual Studio Code and I will open this folder, C Terraform. So I'll go File and Open Folder and C Terraform scripts and 01. Okay. So now this is my Terraform. So what we have done now, we have installed Terraform, we have Visual Studio Code, right, where we are writing the code. Now, what we need to do on our AWS, we need to create the resources. So with this user, we will connect to this AWS account. Now, as I mentioned, Terraform supports multiple type of you can say providers like AWS Azure. How do you know, or how your Terraform knows that this script is related to AWS or it is related to Azure? So there is one plugin which get installed on your machine when you configure with AWS provider or Azure provider. So there will be a plugin. Okay. So there will be a plugin. So that plugin will be installed. That plugin will be an executable file, which basically connects your user to the AWS account. So if we use AWS provider, then the plugin will be AWS. And if it is Azure, then Azure related, uh, provider. Okay. So uh, now if I go back to my this folder, now I will create a file. File name is main.tf. You can give any name, okay, but the extension should be Terraform. But in Visual Studio Code, first you need to add the extension. So you can go and search for Terraform. Right here, you will see Terraform, HashiCorp Terraform. So you can install this extension. I have already installed it. You can install this, and it will help you to write the code. Okay. Now, Terraform files are having the extension .tf, and this is the logo of Terraform. Right. So I'm creating a file called main.tf, and there are some commands which basically we execute with the Terraform. So those are called Terraform workflow commands. Okay. So let us talk about those commands. First command is init command. Hash means comment. So this is an init command. So what is init command? If I go to the terminal, all the Terraform commands starts with the Terraform only. So if I say Terraform and init, so what it will do, it will initialize your script. It will check what is the provider. So required plugin will be downloaded. What are the modules you are using in your script? So those modules will be downloaded, right? They are referred. So init command is important. It is not necessarily that um, you need to run this init command all the time whenever you are executing Terraform script. If you are having something which needs the initialization, then you need to run the init command. Now, at this moment, my main.tf file is blank file. So nothing will happen. So it is just saying that Terraform uh, is initialized, your script is initialized. Now, next one is, if I say, second one is called Terraform validate. Validate command will check the syntax or references of your variables. For example, you have created one variable but you have not used, or if you are using a variable which is not declared. So in those cases, we use the Terraform validate command. So at this moment, my file is an empty file. So if I say Terraform and validate, it will give you that it will give you the answer that success means the response is success, right? Because it is empty, no syntax check. So that's why it has given the output as success configuration is valid. Now, next one is plan. So what is plan? See, there is something called dry run. Okay, what we call dry run. So what is dry run? So dry run means that, for example, you want to change some configuration on your cloud environment, but you, before applying the changes, you want to see what will be the impact on my account or on my uh, cloud environment. For example, you are creating one EC2 instance, but before creating, you want to see how the EC2 instance will be created, what will be the properties of that particular EC2 instance. So then you need to run the plan command. So plan command will just give you a just give you something which is the response in such a way, whatever you are applying the changes, how it will look like. So that is planned. Then we are having apply command. Apply command means we will execute the plan. Okay, so whatever the plan you are saying, okay, and if you think everything is fine, then you can run the Terraform plan command. And here, if I run Terraform plan command, so you can see as of now I have blank file, so nothing will happen. Now, if I say Terraform apply, when you run the Terraform apply command, so what it will do, it will make the changes on your cloud environment, and it will create one file which is called the state file. Okay, execute the plan and creates the state file, which is called Terraform state file. Okay, this is called Terraform state file, right? So now this is the Terraform state file is the file, right? Which is Terraform state file. This is the file which contains the applied information. Means, for example, if you have created one EC2 instance by using your Terraform script, then EC2 instance name, its properties like its IP address, public, private, DNS, or whatever the properties which are related to that particular Terraform, which are related to that EC2 instance, will be recorded into the Terraform state file. So state file is very important. If you are making it changes into your state of the resource, then it's better to take a backup of your state file. By default, there is a by default there is a one backup which is taken by the Terraform by itself if you are applying any changes. Okay, so let us run this Terraform apply command. So when I run the apply command, so you can see there is a state file, tf state file get created. At this moment, this is only the metadata. There is uh, nothing related to any AWS resource because we have not created any resource so far, right? My file, which is main.tf, it is an empty file. Now, same way, there is another thing, which is whatever you have applied, if you want to destroy that, means you want to remove, then destroy. It will destroy whatever you have applied. For example, you have created one EC2 instance and you want to remove that particular EC2 instance, which is in your state file. So it can be done with the help of the Terraform destroy command. Now let us see this practically, and then we will have more understanding about this Terraform, these Terraform scripts or commands. Right? So what I'm going to do, I will these are comments. So now first what I will do, I will say provider. So provider, I'm using AWS provider. How do you know? So you can go to the Terraform website. So all the documentation, you will find it here. So for example, if I say documentation, Terraform registry, right? So if you go to the Terraform registry, right, here you can see browser information, browse modules, browse tasks, right? So all that information you can see it here, right? For example, if I go to modules, so you can see the module information. We will talk about what is module and how we can use it, right? So for example, if I say AWS provider, Terraform code, right? So AWS provider, Terraform registry. Now here you can see what we need to do. We need to simply, this is optional. This is if you want a specific Terraform uh, provider, this is the plugin information. So if you want a particular provider with a version which is greater than 6.0, then you can use this and then you can use provider. But I am directly using, you can directly use also. So this is optional, but it is a good practice if you want to use a specific provider version of that cloud environment like AWS or Azure. So I'm going to use this only. Okay. So I'm writing provider. Then you need to tell that where you need to create your EC2 instance. In AWS, we create the resources on the region basis, right? So if it is a North Virginia region, Asia Pacific region, right? So we need to tell which region. So here I will give the region as US East 1. Okay, so this is my region. So it means North Virginia region, right? So now if I save this and if I run the Terraform init command, right? So what it will do, it will go and download the AWS plugin. So here you will see, or if I go here, it will create one directory, and under that .terraform directory, and under that you will find one executable file which basically helps me to connect to the AWS provider. So you can see current version is 6.40, right? And here you can see this is the executable file. So this is a little big file, but it is what it is doing. It is connecting uh, my script to the AWS when I execute it. Now, what I want to do, I want to create how you create the resources. Now, we will create the resource. Resource means AWS instance you want to create, S3 bucket you want to create. What do you want to create? That is called a resource. And there are some fixed values. That's why I'm using Visual Studio Code with the extension Terraform from HashiCorp. So when you use this resource, so there are some specific resources. So that is listed here. So if I say AWS underscore instance, right? So we will write this. Now, next is the name of this resource. This is the identification or ID of that resource. I'll say instance one. Okay. Now, when we create our EC2 instance in AWS, so if I go here and if I go to my EC2 instance, so when we create the EC2 instance, then if I launch it here, I need the name. So this is called the tag name. So I can give the tag name. I'll say tags. And here we will give the key value pair. I'll say name, and I will say equals to some name, say KMIT courses instance. Okay, so I'm creating one EC2 instance with the tag this. If you want to give more tags, you can give tags after this. Right? Second, you need to select the operating system image. So every image is having one image ID. So you can see this AMI ID. So we need to take this image ID. For example, I'm selecting this Amazon Linux. If you want to use Mac, Ubuntu, Windows, according to that, you need to take that image name. But we will do the example on AWS Linux OS image only. So here I will say AMI equals to, in double quotes, I will give that value. Okay, so you need to select that image ID as per your um, as per your account, right? So it may be different, right? So you can choose that image ID. Then after, we need to select the instance type. For example, I want to create T3 micro. So I will say instance type equals to T3 dot micro. Okay, that I want to use. After that, my key pair. So here you can see I have key pair KMIT courses. So I will say key name equals to KMIT courses, right? So that is the key. What else? Network settings I will keep default, and rest of the thing I will keep as it is, right? So now I will save this. So now here I will say Terraform init. It is not required now because we have already executed that command. So it is initializing my provider. Provider is already initialized. So it is saying that I'm using the previous version of your AWS provider. That's correct. Now, here in the state file, you can see there is nothing, only these 7-8 lines I have. Now, I will say Terraform and validate to check that syntax and everything is correct. So it will check my script, and it is saying there is no configuration error. Then I will say Terraform and plan. What this is going to do? So it is now what it is saying. I'm going to add one thing. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to destroy anything. What the thing it is going to add? It is going to add a EC2. So Terraform, it will be a create operation. It will create one EC2 instance. This will be the AMI ID, and few properties are known after we apply the change, like public IP or availability zone, etc. Okay, so okay, this is fine. Now I will say Terraform and apply. Now it will ask, or it will confirm whether you want to create this resource, yes or no, right? So now it is asking, you need to type yes if you are okay with this configuration, which is nothing but the configuration which is related to the plan command, same whatever my script is having. Now I'll say yes. Now it will create the EC2 instance into my account. So how it is validating? It is validating with my AWS CLI credentials. So now it is creating the EC2 instance. So resource is created, see, very fast. Now if I go back to my instances, So you can see KMIT courses instance is created. It is in running. T3 micro we had given, right? And some other information. So public IP address is also assigned, right? Now, if I go back to my code and if I check the TF state file, now you can see it is having a lot of information. This information is related to my resource. For example, the public IP address. So this was my AMI ID. Now, if I search for the public IP address, so you can see same IP address, whatever I am having here. DNS name, private address 198. So if you see 198 is the private IP address. So state file is very important, and you can see there is a backup of already get created for the previous state. So before this, it was like this. Now it is this. So you can compare that what are the resources that has been added, right? So those things we can see in the state file. You can also query on the state file with the Terraform state command, right? Terraform state show. So Terraform state show your instance name, which is my instance one. One second. Terraform list something not I'm not writing correctly. Terraform state list. Yeah. So here you can see this is the AWS instance, right? Now I want to see the show command, right? In the show command, I will give this AWS underscore instance, and I will give the instance which is instance one, right? So it will give the detail of instance one, right? So all the details it will show in the JSON format, right? What it picks up from this state file only, right? So now I have created this resource and we have seen that resource got created. If you want to make any changes, for example, some changes does not require to destroy the resource and create it again. For example, you want to change the tag. So changing tag does not require uh, anything which is to stop, terminate the EC2 instance. So for example, I want to make some changes. I will go to main.tf file and I will say my tag name is instance1. Okay, I will save this and I will execute this command Terraform apply again. You can run the plan, validate, init. That is optional because I know what change I am doing. So I want to apply this change. Right. So when I apply this change, so it is checking first what will happen, what is the current state, and what changes we are asking. So here you can see 0 to add means it will not add anything, but it will do a change. So let us see what change it is doing. It is saying the name which is instance is to be changed with the instance one. Okay, so this will be the change. Yes, I'm okay with that. I can say yes. I'm saying no at this moment. So there will be no apply. So because I want to show you one option, which is auto approve. So when you use the auto approve, what it will do, it will apply the changes without asking yes or no. Okay, because when you are running a CI/CD pipeline, at that time you don't want any manual intervention. You want that it is to be executed automatically. So in that case, we need to use this option, which is auto approve. Now, when I press enter, So now it will not ask the question. It will update my state file. Right. So now see, it won't ask, right? And changes will be very fast because we are only modifying the tag. Now, if I see the backup file, so now you can see backup file is the backup of my state file, which was earlier my state file. And here the new changes has been applied. So you can search that one. I will go directly here. And if I refresh this, and you can see the tag is changed to instance one. And there is no change in the public IP address or private IP address. There may be a case you want to destroy this particular resource. I want to destroy my resource. So I will say Terraform destroy, and auto approve means it will not ask yes or no. If you don't mention auto approve, it will ask, do you want to destroy, yes or no? And if you say yes, then it will be destroying, otherwise not. Now what it is going to do, it will destroy my instance only, whatever I have defined in my script. So it is going to destroy that one, and it will update the state file as well. Right. So my my instance is destroyed. Let us double check. If you see here, if I refresh, so you can see it is in the terminated state. If I go here, if I check the state file, so you can see state file also has removed that instance entry. But in the backup, it will be there because it is taking the backup of the previous state file. Do you have any question till now?
No, sir.
You're good. Okay. Now, when I'm writing this script, I'm using these hard-coded value. I want to create a variable file. So what I will do here, I will create a variable file. You can give any name. I'm giving variables.tf file. Here, I will create the input variables. So I will say where, which is region. And here we will have a default value, which is I'm giving US East and 1. Same way, I will have the variable, which is AMI, and I want to give a value, which is, say, an example, whatever we are having here. This value I want to give. Then instance type, and same way, variable, I'll create key name, and here I will say name, default equals to some value, just KMIT courses, right? So, right. Now, KMIT course, what else is there? Tag name, okay? So we'll give tag name. So I'll say variable tag name, and here I will give the value equals to this one. in double quotes. So these are the values. Now what I will do, instead of hard coding the things here, we can use where dot region. Here I can use where dot tag name and so on, where dot instance key name, where dot key name, right? So it is same. So we can say Terraform and validate to check everything is fine, and it will create the same resource, right? If I run the apply command, right? So this is valid. Now, next thing is that, for example, you want some values at runtime. So in that case, what we need to do, we need to remove this entry from the, we'll create a variable, but we will say that variable is having no default value. It means at runtime, I need to enter that value. So I'll save this. Now, if I say Terraform and I run only the plan command, okay? So when I run the plan command, now it will ask the instance type. So if I say T3 or T2 dot micro, for example, so what it will do, whatever is in the plan, that will be created by the apply command. Okay. So all the time I'm not running apply command because it takes time to create the resources, right? So here you can see it is saying that it will create one resource, right, which is EC2 instance. And here you can see that we had given T3, T2 micro. So you can see the instance type at runtime, it is T2 micro. You can also create some file which is external file for variables, like I have created variables.tf. But for example, you are working in the staging environment. So I'll say staging.tf vars file. Okay. Now here I'm saying the instance type should be T2 micro. Okay. And if I use the another file which is production.tf vars file, right? So here I will say instance type equals to T3 micro, for example, right? So now I have two files, one is staging and one is production. Now consider you are creating the resource for staging environment. Then you will say Terraform apply or Terraform plan. And here I will say hyphen hyphen tf is that command apply and the let me just check the syntax. So I have all this documentation here. Um, so if I go here, um, so you can see the variables. So tf var files. So how we will execute it? Var file equals to your file name, right? So plan, and if I say this, my var file equals to, so right. So if I say stage.tf vars file, so what it will do, it will take the instance type as staging file, right? So if I run this, Fail to read the file, does not exist. Okay, it is staging. Right. Now you can see it is going to add a resource. Now it's staging. Under staging, I have T2 micro. So it means the instance type will be T2 micro. Instance type is T2 micro. Now, if I use production.tfvars, then it will be in production. I have T3.micro. Right. So now you can see it is T3.micro. Right. So if you are having two environments, production and staging, and you want that in production environment, right, I want to use different configuration, create a tfvars file for that and apply for production. And if you want to use for staging, then staging configuration file you can create with the staging.tfvars file, and you can set the configuration accordingly. Right. So this is how we use the vars file. Now, same way you can create multiple resources, right? So I have created one instance. For example, you want to create one more instance with the similar configuration. One way is that you can create one more resource and create another instance, or you can put it here, count. Okay. So count equals to 2. So count is a reserved word. So I want to create two EC2 instances. So I will say count equals to 2. So what it will do, it will create two EC2 instances with the same configuration. For example, I want to change the key name here. So if you want to change the key name, not key name, the tag name, I will change it. So I will say count equals to 2. Right. I will just put it before this. It does not matter. You can keep it anywhere. But the name I want to give as dollar and count index +1. Index is starting from the 0. So I just want to put it something like this. So where.tag name and then one hyphen in between, right? And then the index name. So what I will do here, I will go into my variables.tf file and the tag name, I will remove 1. Okay, I will say KMIT courses instances. Now what will happen when I execute this, and let me remove that instance type in variables. So I will put a default value as T2 micro or T3 micro, whatever, because I will not pass the vars file. Now what will happen when I execute this, it will create two instances, one instance with one number, that is the tag name, and second is 2. How? Because here I am mentioning count dot index. So count, if I say count is 2, and here you can see that count is 2 means I want to create two resources. Means my AWS instance, I want to create two instances, but uh, these are separated with the index number. So first index is 0, and I'm putting it here 0 plus 1. So 0 plus 1 means 1, then 2. So let us run the plan command. So Terraform and plan command, and I'm removing this var file. And now if I run this, so let us see what it returns. So you can see it will create two instances whereas I am having only one resource, but count is equals to 2. That's why it is going to create two EC2 instances. My first EC2 instance name is, or tag name is This is second. This is first. You can see instance 1 and second one will be instance 2, right? So this way you can use the count. Count is a inbuilt keyword in Terraform, right? All right. So now there is something called output variable. So what is output variable? Output variable means you want to print something. For example, I want to um, print the IP address of my EC2 instance, right? So here I will remove this count because it will create two resources, right? So here I will create one output variable. Variable name you can give anything, say result, and here I will put the value equals to instance dot public IP address. Okay. So what it will do? Now it will print the public IP address as a output. So now I need to apply the change. So I will save this and I'll say Terraform and apply auto approve. So what it will do, it will create my EC2 instance. And okay, I did not use, okay. Yeah, so there was an error. So I will simply say var.tag name. So now the public IP address will be returned. It will create the resource and it will return the public IP address. Right? So my resource get created and you can see this is the public IP address of my EC2 instance which get created. So output will print the value. And if I go here and if I refresh this, so you can see this is in the running state and see IP address 44 this dot 188, right? Same. So it took that value from the state file. Okay. So today we have seen that how we can create the resources. In tomorrow's lecture, we will see that some more concepts which are related to Terraform, like Terraform modules and Terraform data source, right? So those things we will see in tomorrow's lecture. All right.
Okay, sir. Sure.
See you tomorrow then. Bye-bye.